Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cryptic Conversations. I'm your host, Tunes from the Crypt, and we have another very special episode in store today. Today's guest is Dr. Debra Greene. With a background in energy psychology, she has dedicated her career to exploring the intersection of science and spirituality. Her experiences and research have led her to delve into topics such as multidimensional self-care and the role of consciousness in healing. Dr. Greene holds a Ph.D. from Ohio State University and has authored numerous research papers on these subjects. Her book, Endless Energy, The Essential Guide to Energy Health, is a comprehensive resource for understanding and optimizing one's energy levels for overall well-being. As the founder of YourEnergyMatters.com, Dr. Greene offers accredited online programs such as Energy Mastery, the Art and Science of Applied Energetics, where she shares her expertise with individuals seeking to deepen their understanding of energy healing and self-care practices. She is also a sought-after speaker, workshop facilitator, and practitioner of the healing arts, bringing over 25 years of experience. Her insights and teachings have empowered countless individuals to harness the power of their own energy for personal transformation and well-being, and I'm honored to have her today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you for being here. So, as I like to ask all my guests, I like to get their backstory to kind of tell their story from their early years and how they got to where they are today. So, talk to me about your early life. Where did you grow up and go to school, and what was your family like?
Well, I was born and raised in Minnesota, and from an early age, I was always what I would call energy sensitive and could pick up on things. And for a very long time in my younger days, I thought everybody was experiencing reality the same way I was. And then when I realized that wasn't the case, I went through a phase where I thought there was something wrong with me. And that lasted for a while. And eventually I realized, well, maybe this isn't such a bad thing, being so energy sensitive. And of course, in the end, I've made a career out of it.
So what kind of things were you, when you say energy sensitive, was it like people's energy, location energy? What kind of things were you picking up?
Mostly people's energies.
Mm.
Walking into a room, being able to sense things, or, just being in proximity to different people, I would pick up on information about them, which actually brings up a good point, because I'm going to be talking a lot about energy, but when I talk about energy, I'm not just talking about energy kind of in the classic sense, which means, power or force or the ability to do work. For me, when I talk about energy, energy is intimately laced with information. And for our purposes, we can't really separate those. And so I would pick up on energy and information about people. And, without interacting with them, verbally, without knowing anything about them, without having a conversation or never having met them before. And I would pick up on information. I'm not psychic. But just, what I would call energy sensitive. And again, I thought everybody was, able to get this energy information. Yeah. And then I realized, no, people are not experiencing the same way that I am. And so that's my journey.
I love that. Yeah. So I can relate to you as well. And I've been, having so many different spiritual coaches and people on the show, and people are telling me that I'm an intuitive empath. And I've been that same way, where it's like when I'm in a room or something, I can feel people's energy, like what they're thinking, or know stuff about their lives. I don't know if it's like I know, or I'm just kind of like reading the person, but I'm very sensitive to energy. And lately, in the past few years, I've had to really go ground myself, ground my energy, go in nature and ground that energy. And it's really helping me. So I can relate to you there. So what about your education career? So, maybe high school in Ohio State University?
Right. So high school and college were in Minnesota. And then when I graduated from college, I actually worked for a few years in public radio. I worked for Minnesota Public Radio.
Oh, nice.
And then I quit my job and I traveled around the world by myself for 1.5 years, which is a whole nother story. But, you know, obviously amazing experiences at that time, because when I was doing that around the world journey, there were no cell phones, there was no internet, there was no email, there was none of that. And so it was, what I would call true traveling.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
And then when I came back from the world travels, I went back to school and got a master's degree in intercultural communication from the University of Kansas in Lawrence. And then when I finished that, then I went on to get a Ph.D. from Ohio State. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I
And
love
then
it.
when I finished at Ohio State, I taught full time in the Graduate School for Holistic Studies at John F. Kennedy University, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Okay, and
Yeah.
so before you mentioned that you're currently in Panama. So that's pretty new, right? You were in Hawaii for some time, right?
I was in Hawaii living on Maui Island for 24 years.
Oh, wow.
And then about a year and a half ago, I came to Panama on vacation and I just fell in love with Panama. And I ended up actually buying a place here. And I go back and forth, but yes, at the moment I'm in Panama.
Wow, so that was a year and a half ago that you left Maui. So
Right.
you beat the wildfires.
I beat the fires. I beat the GMO mosquito release. I'm not sure if you heard about that, but it's another
Yeah.
tragedy that has befallen that beautiful, amazing island. And yeah, it's just been one thing after another there.
Do you think, wow, do you think your intuition was kind of telling you it's time to move and get out of there? And sure enough, look what ended up happening.
Absolutely,
Oh,
no
wow.
question.
Wow.
Because I mean, I I really thought that I was going to be on Maui for the rest of my life. I love Maui. And I never thought I was going to leave there. But then, a couple of friends who were in Panama at the time, uh, they said, "Hey, why don't you come and visit us? Panama is amazing." And travel had just opened up, after COVID and all of that. And so I was just really wanting to travel because obviously I love to travel. And so I was like, yes. And I got off the phone with them and I'm like, where's Panama? I actually had to look on a map to find out where Panama was. And anyway, so yes, I came here on vacation and again, it was very intuitive. I mean, I fell in love with Panama. I was staying mostly in Coronado, which was on the ocean, Pacific Ocean side. Panama is the only country in the world where you can actually view the Pacific. You can see, for example, sunrise on the Atlantic Ocean and
Ah,
sunset on the
yeah.
Pacific Ocean from the same place.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
it's got Panama has a lot of really special things about it. But anyway, then I came to the what's called the interior of Panama, which is, kind of the more rural parts of Panama. And I just fell in love with this place. It's amazing. The Panamanian people are amazing. It's a beautiful country. And there's a lot of aloha here.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically, I went home and took me about 4 months to go through all of my belongings that I had amassed over 24 years. And I basically moved here with 5 suitcases on the airplane. And people are always asking me, like, why did you move there? And it was really just very, very intuitive. Everything was in the flow, as we say.
Yeah.
And picking up on those cues makes life really wonderful.
Yeah, I love that so much. Like I've been having an intuitive, like something keeps telling me that I gotta get out of here too. I gotta move to Florida. I keep getting like signs. It's like, gotta go to Florida, gotta go to Florida. And I'm wondering too, I don't know, I don't want to, necessarily put it out there, but I don't know. They're always saying California is due for that big earthquake, so I don't know if something's telling me to get out of here before that happens or something. And also,
Mm, yeah, listen, listen.
yeah. And also, I'm not sure if you're aware of, the solar energy, the solar frequencies right now are very intense. And, I think we're reaching the solar maximum in this year. Um, so to pivot back for a second, so you were mentioning about the GMO mosquitoes, and there's a whole big conspiracy theory about the wildfires in Maui. Did you notice anything else that was unusual?
Well, I wasn't there, right? I had already left Maui, so I
That's true.
wasn't there at the time of the wildfires. But I do have, of course, a lot of friends there, and yeah, I mean, it was a very unusual. I mean, either, yeah, let's just say there's a lot of suspicious things
Yeah,
happened
yeah.
to bring about that eventuality. And it may take years before the truth actually comes out, but not a pretty picture.
Yeah. Sending my love out to the Hawaiian people over there, man. It's so sad what's being done to them and what they're going through. Just taking their land, it's so sad,
Horrible. Yes, and it's been it's been going on
Yeah.
for forever, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's tragic, really
Mm. Okay.
criminal, if you ask
Yeah.
me.
Okay. And so you also mentioned, when we were preparing for this episode, that you said that you had a UFO sighting in Big Sur, California. What impact did that experience have on your journey into energy medicine and consciousness studies, and what kind of happened there?
Yes, well, thanks. I appreciate being able to tell this story. So, living on Maui, and I was teaching at Esalen in Big Sur, and this was several years ago. So, I got off the plane, I got my rental car, and I stopped at a friend's house to visit and spend the night, and then, head to Esalen the next day. And she and her husband were both academics, and their guest room happened to be also their library. So I was sleeping in this room that was just filled with shelves upon shelves of books. And despite a day of travel and a, late dinner, for whatever reasons, I couldn't sleep. And so I started perusing the books, just kind of going through looking at titles. And I mean, there were books of all varieties: politics, religion, history, psychology, sociology, you name it. And so I'm looking at these titles when all of a sudden this book kind of, leapt off the shelf, so to speak. It was like the book was slapping me in the face or something. And so I, take the book off the shelf, and it happened to be a book about extraterrestrials. And prior to that, I had never really thought about extraterrestrials that much. And but I started reading this book, and I ended up staying up all night and finished the entire book. And I really wish I could remember the title or the author, but I don't. What I do remember is that it was the story about a couple, a husband and wife, who had an encounter with a UFO. And then the book goes on to explain how UFOs work and how they traverse, the time-space continuum, things like that. It was really interesting. So with that as sort of a backdrop, I drive to Esalen. And the next day at night, my course assistant and I are soaking in the hot tubs at Esalen. And for those of you who have never been to Esalen, the hot tubs are built into the side of a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And so we're in the tubs, and we're just talking and staring out onto the ocean, and it's night. And all of a sudden, my course assistant, who's also a friend, sees something just above the horizon, a light. And she said, look at that light over there. And so we're both watching this light, and it's moving in ways that are completely inexplicable. It would hover, and then very quickly it would move to a completely different location, usually horizontally, and hover there for a while. And then, in a nanosecond, it would be, on the other side of the, median line or whatever. And So we're just watching this thing for like 10 minutes. Neither one of us could figure out like what it is or why it was moving so erratically. And it seemed to defy, everything we know about how aircraft would move or anything else.
Yeah.
And so we both sort of came to the conclusion that, that we were watching a UFO, or I guess they're not called
Oh yeah.
UFOs anymore. I guess they're called UAP.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that's, we both came to that conclusion, and I'm really glad that we were both able to see this
Yeah.
thing because we
Yeah.
we were not hallucinating it.
Yeah.
And that part of the Pacific Ocean kind of has a reputation, I found out later, that there have been quite a few sightings over the ocean
Oh
there.
wow.
So yeah, so that was my encounter. Um,
Wow.
and it was very, very cool.
Yeah.
And sort of opened up a new, I mean, I can't say completely new way of thinking, because I started teaching in universities in I think 1989 or 1990. And for whatever reasons, I remember I would routinely ask my students in all the classes I taught, do you believe in UFOs, and do you believe in extraterrestrial life? Do you believe in intelligent life beyond this planet? And this was like 1989, 1990. And overwhelmingly, the students would say yes.
Yeah.
And, most people I find agree that,
Mhm.
yes, we're not alone in the multiverse.
Yeah.
In fact, even the most advanced astrophysicists do agree that the probability of intelligent life beyond this planet is extremely high.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to believe that we're alone. We're not.
Yeah. I love
I,
that.
I think one of the big mistakes that's made is that we think we think that intelligent life beyond this planet has to necessarily resemble us and our life. So, you know, when like, in SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, when astrophysicists focus on that, they're really looking for the basic building blocks of human life. And I think, in my opinion, that's limiting.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, I mean, if you want me to keep talking, I don't know, I gave you a very long answer. I'll
Yeah.
pause.
Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I love that you were kind of what do you call it? You're a professor who was kind of ahead of their time, because I've actually had this thought recently that I wanted to put a video out and tell my audience why I believe in aliens and and UFOs or whatever, because my whole life I've been open to the idea. I wasn't sure. I've never encountered one like you have. But I remember I had a professor in community college. I took an astronomy class, and I remember the first day of class, that's where I was like, okay, the first day of class, the professor was like, I guess she wanted to get us interested, right? She wanted to like get us interested with a hook, And so first day of class, she's like, "All right, class, can I get a show of hands? How many of you guys believe in aliens?" That was like the first day of class, first thing she asked, and I was like, "What? Like this is an astronomy class?" And she's asking that, and I look around, and you could tell like some of the students were kind of shy. We don't want to raise our hands, we want to make sure we're not weird or whatever. And then next thing you know, you look around the class, we all had not all of us, but most of us had our hands up. And I was like, okay, like if my professor and she told us, she was like, after that, she was like, yeah, she's like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I believe that there's intelligent life out there. Like the universe, the multiverse, it's so expansive. How can we believe that we're the only ones out there? And so that kind of planted a seed for me where I started to believe in this stuff some more. And then the next thing that happened for me is where I started to do a little bit of therapy. I was doing hypnotherapy, and my second hypnotherapist, she exclusively works on people who've been abducted. They've had these abduction experiences, and she puts them under and tries, because it's sometimes been traumatic for them or whatever. They feel like they're going crazy or whatever. And so I asked her afterwards. I was like, yeah, like, so what do you how do you make sense of all this? What do you see it as? And she told me too. She was like, I grew up as a Catholic girl. Went to went to Catholic school. She said that she didn't really believe in this stuff, but she started to pursue a career in hypnotherapy. And next thing she knew, she started getting all these referrals over and over of these people who had these abduction experiences. So at that point, she said, "Yeah, there's definitely something here to this." And now she's very involved. I forget what the name of the organization is that she's involved with, but she's very involved with it. And yeah, the reason why I'm telling this story is just for the listeners who are skeptical, just want to, open you up to the idea that this could be true.
Absolutely. I mean, as I said, not only could be true, but it is quite agreed upon among astrophysicists that there is intelligent life out there, and there's extraordinary amounts of money being directed into developing telescopes for this very purpose. So, if the probability was minimal, that would never happen,
Yeah.
So we're getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah. So
to
Big Sur is a beautiful location. I've never been there. I want to go there, but just I've seen friends who've gone and visited. Such a beautiful location. And I'm also coming to find that there's this another concept of, that of ley lines and energetic grid lines across the earth where, multiple lines intersect. And usually where these multiple lines intersect, that's usually a heightened sense where these phenomena can happen. So maybe Big Sur is one of those locations. Maybe I need to go to one of these locations to encounter one.
it could very well be, and there's also, speculation that the extraterrestrials use the ley lines, in connection with their craft. And also, there's reason to believe that they use the ley lines in order to create the crop circles. I'm not sure if you've, talked
Oh
about
yeah.
that on your show, but, crop circles are another phenomena that cannot be explained,
Yeah.
in our, conventional worldview.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of reason to believe that the crop circles are created by extraterrestrials, and that they're using the ley lines to create, those designs. So it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
And I've actually been to England, where, at a location where there's usually a lot of crop circles, and I've been inside a crop circle there. And yeah, I mean, if you see them up close and personal, you can really understand how this could not be man-made. Cannot. They're very, very sophisticated.
Oh yeah.
And the crop, whatever it may be, if it's wheat, for example, each one of the wheat stalks are bent at an extremely precise angle, and they're actually kind of woven together. I mean, it's extraordinary.
It really is. I remember watching a video when I was a kid, was it Discovery Channel or History Channel? And or maybe it was Mythbusters or one of those kind of videos. And it was like debunking the crop circles. And the way they made the video is like, yeah, showing like the guys, they go out at night and they put these slips on their shoes, and they use kind of like a piece of wood, and they showed how they make the crop circles. I wasn't buying it.
Well, but how much time did that take?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of crop circles that appear within a matter of just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And they're enormous. They're
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So you're like, how many people would have to be involved, and how much time would have to be involved to actually lay down a design like that in a matter of minutes? It's really not humanly possible. If you look into it, you
Yeah.
soon discover it is not humanly possible. So yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for being so open to share these kinds of stories. I know some people are not as open to talk about these things. So thank you for sharing your story, and I appreciate it, because I know that these topics can be kind of controversial. So
Well, I want to get even more controversial, can I?
yeah.
I mean, I want to circle back around to a comment that I made earlier. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Is it
No, you're good.
okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, earlier I said something like, in my opinion, one of the limitations is that astrophysicists, and they tend, when they're looking for intelligent life beyond this planet, they tend to use a human framework, as, okay, what does it take to support life? And, where else can we find that, in the universe? But in energy medicine or energy psychology, which is my area of expertise, um, energy medicine, energy psychology recognizes multiple planes of existence, not just the physical. And so, I mean, the physical is obviously part of it for sure. I mean, in terms of energy medicine, we do have a physical body. It is real, it does exist, but it exists on the physical plane of existence or plane of experience. But we're not just physical, because if we were, we would just be a corpse. We would just be like a dead body, but we're not. We're alive, we're animate, we have the capacity to move. And that's because our physical body is powered by an energy body, which is sometimes, called the etheric body. It's sometimes called the vital body, sometimes called the biofield. But we do have this energy component to our physical body. So, we can move around. But that's not all there is to us either, because we have the capacity to experience emotions and feelings. And in energy medicine, our emotions are not brain chemistry. They're not produced by the brain. The physical brain is like the display screen, but it's the emotions do not originate in the brain. The emotions originate on a different dimension, a different plane of experience. And it's sometimes just called the emotional plane, or else if you look into the esoteric teachings, it's often referred to as the astral plane.
Mm.
But we don't just move around and emote, because we also have the capacity to think thoughts. We have an intellect, right? And so the thought forms that we produce are not brain chemistry either. They are connected with what's called the mental plane, or the mental dimension, or the mental channel of experience. And that's not all there is to us either, because we also experience even beyond that, beyond, the cognitive thinking process, the feelings, and so forth. We have the capacity to have what is oftentimes referred to as spiritual experiences. And, so there is this spiritual dimension, or, sometimes I just refer to it as the universal dimension, because if you use the word spiritual, some people tend to mix it up with religion. And what I'm talking about has nothing to do with religion. These are channels of experience, they're dimensions of existence. And, it's not something that you believe in or you don't. They just are. They simply exist. And we humans occupy these dimensions, these planes of existence simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us so wonderfully, amazingly complex. And so I am going to tie this back to extraterrestrial. I'm sorry, I'm taking a very roundabout way.
Nah,
Are you
go
with
ahead.
me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, just like on the physical plane, I mean, we can look around and we see objects and we see landscapes, and, we see physical material reality, right? We see physical matter. But similar to that, if we could see on the astral plane or emotional plane, we would see that the emotional plane is also very active. There's a lot happening there. We would be able to see, astral energies, emotional energies. And also, if we could see on the mental plane, we would be able to see thought forms. We would be able to see a lot of activity going on. And similarly on the spiritual or universal dimension. So, we have the capacity to perceive all of that. So then the question is, I mean, there's reason to believe that extraterrestrials are advanced life forms, right? Because they have this capacity to create these craft that seemingly defy the laws of physics. So there's reason to believe that they are advanced, that they are more evolved than we humans are. And if that's the case, then it's very likely that the extraterrestrials occupy these other planes of existence and most likely can be found on the mental plane. And because of their intelligence. And that's how, maybe you've heard, there are certain individuals who are able to communicate with extraterrestrials. And all of that is happening in the mind, right? It's a mental phenomena. So in my opinion, if we're going to be, widening or expanding our search for intelligent life, we also need to include looking on the mental plane in the non-physical reality.
Wow, I love that so much. So much to unpack there. Um, I wonder what are your thoughts? Some people believe, and I don't know, some people believe that aliens could even be the advanced versions of ourselves. That as we what do you think about that?
It could be possible if
Yeah,
look into the timeline
yeah,
phenomena. Yes, it could be possible.
yeah. Also, what I've come to find too is that what do they say? So our thoughts are electric and our emotions are magnetic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I would say it the other way around.
Oh, is it the other way?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the
Uh-huh.
axiom that you just said, but in my perspective, in the perspective of energy and information, thoughts act like magnets.
Mm,
They magnetize, they attract similar thoughts, right?
yeah.
Um, and so it's one of the reasons that we have to pay attention to what we think, because we tend to attract what we radiate, right? Because when I'm thinking a thought, I'm putting out energy and information, and that thought form, goes out and magnetizes other thought forms of similar frequency, so to speak. And so, if I'm constantly in fear, anxiety, worry, things like that, well, guess what I'm attracting? And so, we really do have to be very conscious
Oh
about
yeah.
what we're thinking and what we're feeding into with our mind. And I'm not, I it's a it's a slippery slope. You have to be careful because I'm not advocating, you know, what is sometimes referred to as spiritual bypassing, where you have difficult situation in your life and you don't want to deal with it. So you just, take the high road, you spiritualize everything and you don't deal
Oh yeah.
with what's going on. I mean, that's a trap, right? And I mean, we also have to feel our feelings. So I'm not, talking about, oh, talk yourself out of your feelings because, just stay positive. No, I mean, we are complex
Yeah.
and our ability to function healthy on all these levels, there's not just one simple answer. And I mean, okay, read my book. I mean, it's all explained in there. That's
Yeah.
that's what my book is all about: the use and care of our energy bodies and
Yeah.
how to work with these energies. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. As I go along my spiritual journey, I've I went to an ayahuasca retreat a few months ago, and I feel like I tell the same story over and over, so I'm not gonna like dive too deep into that. But what I've come to find is that yeah, like I was definitely exploring my consciousness, that mental plane that you were mentioning of, and I've come to find, that we are electrical beings, and we did this very intense breathwork session on the first day of the retreat. And my whole body was vibrating, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy!" Like my whole body was vibrating, and Nikola Tesla talks about it, right? I think he explained it very well. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so to kind of piggyback on what you said there about how people sometimes they want to take the high road. They deal with traumatic experiences and they just want to suppress it or not think about it and not deal with it. I think it's very important when you go through these traumatic experiences, you need to face it, you need to confront it, you need to work with it, you need to heal it, because emotion is just energy in motion. And so when you sometimes that energy can just get trapped, and then it can cause physical health complications and stuff. So you need to heal it and get that energy moving. So I like to do a lot of breath work now. If I have a stressful day at work or something, I just go breathe and just let it out, just get it out, and I feel so much better afterwards. Do you do any kind of practices like breath work or anything?
Breath is powerful. Breath is very, very powerful. And so is meditation. And I mean, yeah, I have an enormous toolkit, I must say. The bigger the toolkit, the more we're able to care for ourselves because, just, I mean, breath work is amazing. And, I do use it myself, but it's not my only tool. And, it's good to have a really expansive toolkit for care and maintenance of
Yeah.
these vehicles that we have.
Oh yeah.
And, you mentioned consciousness, and I I just want to highlight that, in the framework that I've been describing, the framework of our energy bodies, consciousness actually belongs to the universal level, the spiritual level. And it's an extremely high powered energy information field that we're able to tap into if we choose, right? And so, like, you were describing how you were able to be aware of like the electrical nature of your system and so forth. I mean, that awareness, that's consciousness, right? So the more conscious we can become, the more aware we can become of what's going on inside of us, the more we expand our consciousness, which is ultimately what it's all about, in my opinion, the
Yeah.
expansion of consciousness.
I love that. Yeah, I was actually watching your YouTube channel the other day, and I saw the video of you and you guys were going around your house and showing the harmful levels of microwave, your cell phone. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, well, it's a service project, that I'm involved in. At heart, I'm a teacher, and and so yeah, I mean, I founded Safe Tech Hawaii, and we're an all volunteer grassroots organization, and we're focused on educating people about the dangers of wireless radiation from cell phones and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and towers and antennas and all of that. And we're focused on advocacy. In other words, we interface with, officials and government bodies to try to enact protective, measures because we need it. And, the, I mean, I could talk about this for a very long time, but, your cell phone is harmful, and so is Wi-Fi on the computer. I mean, I'm hardwired right now. I use Ethernet, and I take a
Oh,
lot of steps to make my space EMF free, or as low a radiation emissions as possible, because that type of radiation is extremely toxic. And there's really no question about that right now, but the information is having a hard time getting out there to the public because the telecom industry, big tech, multi-trillion dollar industries, and they don't want you to know the truth about your cell phones and Wi-Fi and towers and antennas and all this stuff. And so, please do your homework. I have a lot of, stuff on my YouTube channel about that. I also have a huge, section in my online program, which, before I forget, I want to say that recently, I woke up to the notion that the information about us, about our true nature, by way of my book, Endless Energy, my online program, Energy Mastery, it has to get out there in much bigger ways. And so I recently made the decision to pretty much give away my online program. And I did that by creating a pick your price option. So, if you go to my website, Your Energy Matters, and you click on the online courses, all of my online courses are at pick your price rate right now, but the mother lode is energy mastery. It's all about the use and care of your energy bodies. And in my opinion, it's this information has to get to many, many people right now, because we're in harm's way. We're definitely in harm's way.
Definitely. So yeah, for the listeners, I'll definitely link both, to her website, her book, as well as her online program. So thank you for bringing that up. We have to get this information out there. Also, if you ever need any help, I work at a marketing company too. So if you ever needed some help getting it out there more too.
I
Um,
might take you up on that.
so I'd like to ask you too, what about 5G?
5G is worse, exponentially worse than 4G, LTE, 3G, whatever. It's exponentially worse. And it's because the wavelength that's used with 5G infrastructure is in the millimeter wave range, and it's never before been used for commercial, purposes. It's only ever been used for military purposes, crowd control, and so forth. And it's the millimeter waves are, kind of fragile, so to speak. They get impeded easily by objects, by trees with leaves, and humans and other things. And so, instead of having like one tower or antenna out in the countryside, or having some antennas on the top of a building which is far removed from where we live and work and play, with 5G they're bringing the infrastructure so much closer to us. And with all the smart appliances as well, I mean, all of your appliances are turning into little radiation units, and the home life is becoming completely contaminated by this. And it's killing us. It's making us very sick, and it's killing us. I mean, if you look, I mean, I'm old enough to know when I was young, doctors were recommending that people smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
My best friend's mother was told by her physician to smoke cigarettes during her pregnancy.
Oh
He
my.
told her that it would help with the pregnancy. And that's just a tiny little example. And we look back on that now and we're like, that's insane. Well,
Yeah.
we are going to very shortly be looking back on this period of time and saying, can you believe people used to hold cell phones to their heads? Can you believe,
Yeah.
children used to have a cell phone in their hands? It's coming. It is coming.
Yeah.
So be proactive. You don't have to get sick in order to change this. And there's just such an array of negative health effects that are connected with radiation, wireless radiation exposure. Educate yourself, please.
Yeah, I remember looking at those old movies, and you would see the doctor smoking a cigarette, and they were pushing the cigarettes back then. Like I said, I was watching that video, and even thinking about the baby monitor putting out those frequencies, and that's in the baby's crib. Like,
Absolutely.
man, yeah,
It's
that,
tragic. It's criminal.
yeah.
Should not be
So,
allowed.
so you said right now you're using an Ethernet. So what about, do you have a microwave? Like, how do you live? Like, what is your daily life like? Like without these
No, I
devices.
do. I don't have a microwave oven. I haven't had one in years and years. Um, I mean, I'm having I'm online right now with you. I've just used Ethernet. I mean, you don't have to have Wi-Fi
So
in order to be
what about a
online.
cell phone?
I do have a cell phone, but even cell phones, you can link it up with Ethernet and get online. It's limited, but you can do that. I also have a landline. I have a
Yeah,
corded, old-fashioned landline.
nice, nice.
And I oftentimes forward my cell phone to my landline. And so that, when I'm
Oh wow.
home, if somebody calls me on the cell, my landline rings, and it's completely seamless on their end. Nobody has to know,
Yeah,
but on my end, I'm not exposed to radiation because it's an old-fashioned, telephone with a cord.
wow.
minor inconvenience. Yes, I'm tethered, right? Like I can't stroll. I mean, I actually have a 50-foot Ethernet cable, so I can stroll around, with my laptop. But it's a question of, okay, minor inconvenience, but is your health worth it? Are you worth it? I mean, if you don't have your health, you don't have nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And, why risk it? It's not worth it. So, and I don't use Bluetooth ever. All you need is wires. Wires are your friend, I mean, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are quite recent, technologies. They didn't exist for a long time. And, computers, in fact, Ethernet is faster, safer, stronger, and more secure than Wi-Fi. All of the gamers they hardwire, they use Ethernet. Why? Because of what I just said.
Yeah.
If you really want speed, true speed online, you're going to use Ethernet. And it's not hackable, the way that Wi-Fi is. Anybody can hack into your Wi-Fi network. Anyway, I
Oh
could go
yeah.
on and on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet some people think you're over exaggerating, you're doing too much, but you probably laugh at those people who are like, no, I'm gonna live this way.
I really wish that I was exaggerating. The truth is sad about this, but it is the truth. Do your homework. Go to
Yeah.
our website, go to safetechhawaii.com and look at the resource page and look at some of the websites that we link with. The research is all there. Thousands upon thousands of peer-reviewed research studies showing the damaging effects of wireless radiation. It's all
Did,
there.
didn't you say, I think in that YouTube video you said too, that the cell phones are decreasing men's sperm count?
Absolutely, they are.
Jeez.
Yes. And
Yeah.
and the other thing that's on the increase is colon cancer in young people. I mean, colon cancer used to be a cancer that you got when, in your elder years,
Yeah.
when you're a senior citizen.
Yeah.
It's now happening in young people. Why? Because there's a lot of young people who carry their cell phone in their back pants pocket or, front pants pocket. Hello, lowered sperm count. Um, there's a lot of evidence of women who sometimes have a tendency to carry their cell phone inside their bra and getting cancer tumors exactly in the spot where they habitually carry the cell phone in the bra. So, I wish I was making this up. I wish it wasn't true. The research is all there. Check it out. Take steps to protect yourself. They are not looking out for us.
Yeah.
You have to take matters into your own hands with
Yeah.
this and be proactive.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on, man. Yeah, this is such an important conversation to be had, and it's making me rethink the way I live my life now. Like I'm gonna have to start making some changes too, because yeah, that's like you said, your health is your most important thing. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. So kind of to piggyback on what you said earlier, I know you touched on it, but if you could just expand on it some more. So how do you see the connection between energy medicine and consciousness, and why is it important to explore this intersection?
Energy medicine and consciousness is it's intrinsic to energy medicine. And as I mentioned earlier, consciousness itself is an energy information field, and it's vibrating at a very high frequency. And so the more we can expand our consciousness, which is not to be confused with altered consciousness, two different things. But the more we can expand our consciousness and expand our awareness, the more we can bring in that extreme high frequency energy information to us. And in turn, we then, feed that back, so to speak, into the energy information field, into the field of consciousness. So it's like it's this reciprocal thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So what are some common misconceptions about energy medicine, and how do you address them in your work?
What a great question. I mean, okay, common misconceptions. Energy medicine is woo-woo. You know, it's lacking, it's lacking in substance. It's not really real. I mean, on and on it goes. Um, it's uh, there is a tremendous amount of research supporting the efficacy of energy medicine techniques. And people, you know, again, people just don't know about it. Why? Well, welcome to the American Medical Association. I mean, welcome to Big Pharma. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
do you think they want you to know that you can empower yourself by working with your own energies to maintain optimal health? Do they want you to know that? Absolutely not. So oftentimes energy medicine is marginalized and you know even demonized, which is wrong. I mean, if you traverse the planet right now looking for approaches to health and healing, you will find that every single approach to health and healing in existence on the planet that we know of recognizes the primacy and importance of human energy, except for one. And that one exception is conventional Western medicine. They do not recognize human energy as being
Yeah.
primary. And, you know, that's a problem. And it's by design. They don't want you to know about it. So, you know, if you want to, if you, well, anyway, yes.
Yeah.
It's very important to empower yourself. And you know, I mean, another misconception is that energy medicine just involves like waving your hands over, you know, over somebody. And I'm not downplaying that at all. I mean, Reiki, you know, healing touch, these kinds of modalities where the hands are primarily, not exclusively, but primarily used, you know, to balance the energies and so forth. They're very powerful and they work. But it's, you know, energy medicine is a very vast field. And so, you know, it extends far beyond that. And in the work that I do in particular, which is energy psychology, you know, we don't do the waving of the hands. We, you know, we work with consciousness. Sometimes when people ask me what I do for a living, if I'm, depending on what mood I'm in or the company I'm with, I say, you know, I muck around in people's consciousness structures. That's what I do for a living. And, you know, by working with people's consciousness structures in a very conscious and participatory manner, you know, people are able to enact significant change in just one session. And I'll also mention that I'm the only person I know of who offers a money back guarantee for sessions, which I do.
Nice.
And that's because I am so confident in what I do and I know the results that I get in just one session. So, you know, you can empower yourself to do amazing life transformation and you don't, you know, you don't need years and years, you know. You don't
Yeah.
have to spend 10 years working on your mommy issues and another 10 years working on your daddy issues and 10, you know, 20 years later you can have a life.
Yeah.
No, you know, energy approaches are so much more efficient and you know, we're ready for this. It's
Yeah.
like it's time, you know,
Yeah.
it's time.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually going to ask you about Reiki because I feel like when people think about energy, they think about Reiki. That's one of the first things that comes to their mind. And I definitely agree with you. It's like in the Eastern world, energy, it's like, oh yeah, that's energy, you know. But in the Western world, energy is like this taboo, like spiritual, like you know, this taboo topic. It's
It's
like, no,
woo
it's just,
woo.
yeah, it's energy. Like, come on, it's common sense, you know. Um, so what advice do you have for someone who is new to energy medicine and wants to start incorporating it into their daily life?
Just take my class. You can take my class for $1. You know, the program, you know, normally retails for over $800 and I have it available now for $1. And, you know, it's and I will say in my online program, it's not like you have to sit there and listen to hours of boring lectures. On average, the videos are approximately 10 minutes. So we're talking bite-sized pieces of information that you can apply immediately in your life. And, you know, I mean, I hate to sound like an infomercial, but, if you sign up for the program, you have access to the entire program. You can jump around. Yeah, just benefit from it.
Yeah.
I
For a dollar, you got nothing to lose.
take advantage.
Yeah. So, so what are some of the most powerful insights or transformations that you've witnessed in some of your participants?
Oh. It's, oh my goodness me. I get this question a lot, and I have promised myself over and over again that I'm going to have an answer. And, you know, my answer has two parts to it. One is when I work with someone doing my specialty, which I mean, I do different things, but my specialty is called inner clarity. That's my baby, that's my thing. And when I do an inner clarity process with someone, we are looking for and finding hidden limiting beliefs, emotional triggers, patterned behaviors, all that stuff that gets in our way and prevents us from, taking our next step in life on our path. And so, a lot of the session consists of limiting beliefs and emotional patterns and stuff like that. And so, I mean, when I do a session, I'm trained to be fully present with the person in session. My sessions are online, by the way. And when the session is complete and over, I jettison the content, because I don't want to hang on to the person's limiting belief and emotional, like I don't want that stuff in my consciousness. And I can best support the person by not feeding that, right? So it's one of the reasons that it's hard for me to come up with a story of, huge transformation, because I basically jettison the information after a session. Having said that, I will talk about a recent session where my client had money issues. And, no matter what she tried, she was not able to make money. And, money, as she said, it would just flow through her hands, go through her hands. She just couldn't save money. She couldn't make enough money. And so that was the focus of our session. And, that consisted of, looking at everything that was getting in her way for that. And after the session, she messaged me and said that she just had like a record number of people signing up for a class that she was offering.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, there's so many, many, many examples of that where, we do a session and then very shortly afterwards, life responds by supporting the person, in that arena. So, I mean, that's one tiny little example. I hope that helps, though.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful. Like I've always been a believer in the law of attraction, and in my life, like yeah, like I was kind of still struggling. Like I was doing all the practices, I created a vision board, I did all these things, and I just wasn't getting to that next level. And I was like, man, like it's not working for me. But I believe in the law of attraction, and so that's where I was like, you know what, maybe I needed to go to therapy. And so it was like really, do hypnotherapy and change those self-limiting beliefs. And once I did that, then the law of attraction just became so much more powerful. So I can see exactly what it is that you're doing there. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, in order to make significant change, you have to dip into the so-called subconscious mind, because I mean, if we already had awareness about what was getting in our way, we would do something about it. I mean, we would change it, right? But it's like it's the stuff that evades us, that's outside of our conscious awareness, that often is running the show. And
Yeah.
so, any kind of powerful modality that can create these significant and lasting changes has to dip into the subconscious mind and clean up, clean it up, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. I love that so much. So how do you see the future of energy medicine evolving, and what new developments or trends are you excited about?
Well, in my opinion, although it's biased, energy medicine is the future. And, it's empowering. It can release us from the shackles of, being dependent on drugs and putting the responsibility outside of ourselves. Something goes wrong and we're like, doctor, fix me. Well, with energy medicine, you get to fix yourself. And why shouldn't you? You are the expert on you. So only you have access, to what is needed in order to really make lasting, permanent change. And the same cannot be said for conventional forms of medicine. They create dependencies, dependency on the medical profession, dependencies on pharmaceutical drugs. I mean, I could go on and on. So yes, it is the future as far as I'm concerned. And there's a conference, the Energy Psychology Conference, which happens once a year. And last year, one of the keynote speakers was Dean Radin. And Dean Radin is the principal researcher at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And he gave a talk. I believe the title of his talk was, "Is the Paradigm Shifting Yet?" And his whole talk was focused on evidence of the paradigm shifting away from an exclusive focus on matter, on the material world, on physical reality as being the be all end all, to understanding these other dimensions and being able to work with them, because that's where the action is. I mean, physical reality is just a manifestation. It's just an outpicturing of what's going on these other levels. So, there's a lot happening across the board. I wish I had been able to memorize his entire talk because it was so inspirational, but he basically named like all of the different disciplines and fields of study and how the paradigm was shifting in almost each and every one of them. So we're living in very exciting and hopeful times. And it's none too soon, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, long overdue. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear the passion in your voice. So kind of closing it out, I like to ask all the guests, can you send the listeners out there a final message of love and healing to the people who might be struggling out there?
I can. Um, this might be a strange request, but can I do it in silence?
Yeah.
I want to connect on these inner planes.
Should I close my eyes and just kind of?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You and your listeners, if you want to participate, please just close your eyes for a moment and just do your best to kind of sink in and, calm the mind and, calm the emotions and just be open to receive as best you can, to the best of your ability. Just take a moment to do that. We can bring in the breath. A couple of long, slow, deep breaths can help to relax the mind, the emotions, the body. Notice how you feel inside. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're the first guest who's done it that way. And yeah, I love that so much. All right. So I want to thank you, Deborah. Thank you for meeting with me today. Thank you for sharing your story and your profound wisdom and insights. Thank you for the work that you're doing and the energy you're bringing to this world. I want to thank the listeners for sticking around to the end. So, Deborah, one more time, please tell everyone where to find your information, and I'll also add it to the description of the video.
Best place is www.yourenergymatters.com. Sorry, couldn't resist bringing in my radio voice. I used to work in radio.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a sincere pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.